and welcome back to this fifth video in this Q&A series on managing stress. I'm sorry about the light today. It's kind of late in the afternoon and the day got away on me. And I actually recorded this earlier, and I attempted to record it earlier, and my went to check the video and it didn't record. My camera was my phone was full, so I am re-recording, and now I'm dealing with rubbish trucks and trash trucks and yapping dogs outside and all sorts of things and bad light. So let's try it again. So I took the day off from doing this yesterday, and I mentioned that this is something I'm doing to, like, I'm working on this skill, and it's a skill, like talking on video is something that has been something I've had a bit of a hang up about for a long time. So it's a skill that I've decided to put some time and effort into overcoming that hang up. And one of the patterns I consistently find when I do something like this, tackle something that I'm anxious about, is if I have a day off, if I break my pattern of what I've been doing, even when it's not avoidance, it functions the same way as if I'd avoided doing this yesterday. So yesterday I went to a state park called Valley of Fire that's about an hour from my house, and we'd wanted to go like midweek and on a good weather day, so it made like perfect sense to go yesterday midweek, so it was like less crowded and stuff with COVID, and it was very empty. So we did that, and so I had the day off from this. But then today when I came to do this, I felt like my anxiety was back to where it was at, like maybe like the second day I did it. Not quite as bad as the first day, but like certainly not like my anxiety had kind of gone down like this, and now it's kind of back up a little bit. So just if you find that happens to you when you take on something that makes you anxious, then just know that that's really normal. Like, let's say you're going to like somebody asked a question about going to martial arts, and let's say you've been going every week, and then one week you're away for some reason, or it's a holiday or whatever, and so you miss it, and you find that your anxiety about going has gone down, and it pops back up, even though you weren't actively avoiding it. It kind of you the way that anxiety works, it sort of pops back up as if you had actively avoided doing it. And the way I handled it was just really simple. So I had taken my tripod with me to the state park. So I'd moved it out of the space. So the first thing I did this morning when I got up was put the tripod back where it needed to be, sort of make that like small behavioural commitment to doing that thing. And then like a bunch of different things kind of made my day sort of get away on me a little bit. So I am doing this kind of late, but I just reminded myself that I don't have to be perfect with it, right? I just have to do it, and that's something that is so simple, but is extremely helpful for dealing with this. And let's get on with the questions. Oh, the other part of the strategy is just kind of what I'm saying here is that you don't want to if you know that that's a pattern and it doesn't mean anything's wrong. The fact that I've had this sort of re-spike in anxiety because of having had the day off, then if you underreact to that, then you'll get back on track. So that's another part of the strategy for getting on back on track is to just take that, to know that pattern of anxiety going up after a little break, even when it's not avoidance, doesn't mean anything bad. Doesn't mean that I'm not making progress with it, or that anything's wrong, or that I'm going to keep getting lots of spikes of anxiety. Just to experiment, get back on track, and see what happens then. And I'm sure by the end of this video that I will be my anxiety will be significantly down. But like I can feel like physical anxiety. I felt like my heart kind of racing, and I definitely felt like tension in my shoulders and things, partly because yesterday I did quite a bit of driving, and so I've got like tension, but yeah, I definitely noticed some physical symptoms of anxiety sitting down to do this. So again, like if you're in a similar situation where you're having the same thing happen, don't think that any of those things happening mean that the normally recommended strategy of just doing it is going and doing it consistently is not working, because that's all like a normal part of it. Right, again, long-winded, right? Eventually I'm going to stop with the long-winded. 2 questions today. Okay, let's do the first one. This is from Anita. Anita says, my question is, what is a good framework for brainstorming multiple things that are stressing you out? I find stress management articles normally advise to go for a walk, paint your nails, phone a friend, blah, 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 blah. But these things are not helpful when you have things that increase stress the longer you delay and you actually need to take action. I instinctively want to get everything out so I can prioritise where to start, but I don't have a good format for doing that apart from the classic list structure. Okay, so I have a few ideas for this, and like, I don't mean for you to take all of these ideas, but maybe there's one in there that's helpful. So one thing that has really, really helped me in the last year is designating more decisions as unimportant. So an example would be, and it's like let's pretend it's not 2020. So imagine you're going to a party, you've been asked to bring a dessert, right? So you know there's like 6 desserts you confidently make. Which of those desserts that you bring is not important, right? They're all going to be roughly equal to another. You don't need to make there's no massive importance to making the best decision out of those options. So while making a decision about what you're going to do is important, what you decide isn't important, and that has really helped me. It really has only been in the last year that I've been able to do that more, to like actively and very deliberately label specific decisions as unimportant. And it's like a case where there's some importance to making a decision, but there's not an importance to what the decision is. Another idea, so Gretchen Rubin, the author of the Happiness Project, she has something called Power Hour. And during Power Hour, she does things that don't have a specific deadline but need to be done, like little things like replacing a light bulb that's gone out in a closet or something like that. And while people will usually recommend do the most important thing first, sometimes you have to get rid of some of that mental clutter. So doing a Power Hour type thing might be helpful. Another thing might be having some more routine and when you do things, and that way you're not remaking the same decisions over and over again. So it might be something like like you do filing on a Monday and something else on a Tuesday, and you have like different tasks assigned to different days of the week, so that you're not making fresh decisions all the time, making excess decisions about when you're going to do things. An example might be that like I have certain things that need to be done once a month, and certain things that need to be done once a quarter, and I have like a few days like where I put aside where I do those things. The other thing that I've been finding really useful this year is I've been doing I've been writing my 3rd book this year. So I've just handed in the manuscript a couple of weeks ago, and for most of the year I've had 2 deep work periods twice a day. And how that's been helpful with decision making is that having that really structured habit has there's just not very much energy left over after that. So I have been able to let more small and medium things go, like let more opportunities pass me by and not do them. So that's another part of this. And another thing I find helpful is I find it really demoralizing to keep moving certain tasks over from one day's to-do list to the next. So try and reserve like your daily to-do list for things that really need to be done that day, like really do need to be done that day. And if you've got other projects that you're doing, have project to-do lists. So if you're doing a project around your home, or you're doing a big work project, like something that's spanning like a long a period of time, then have project to-do lists where you have the next steps for those projects on them, but don't put them on your daily to-do list if they're things that you end up like you're over optimistic about what you're going to get done, and you keep moving those from one day to the next. That's kind of demoralizing. And the other thing I would say about this is to reframe a little bit the fact that you've got like lots of things on your to-do list. Like people end up lots of things on their list because they're curious, or they're enthusiastic about a lot of projects, or maybe they're really good at what they do and they get like a lot, they're at the stage in their career where they've got a lot of opportunities coming at them, or they're so good that people keep bringing them projects to do because the person wants them to handle them. So reframing how you're looking at why you've got all these things on your to-do list can be helpful as well. So when Anita has asked this question, she's done half the work, right? Half of the work is informing the question. So now what you're saying is that you want to know some other ways to categorize and prioritize your to-dos beyond a list. So that's something that you can easily Google around for, and you might read a bunch of solutions that aren't quite right for you, but by knowing yourself, and you'll be able to find something from those that sparks off a way to improve your problem. So you might need to personalize it a bit, and you might need to realize that it's not going to completely solve the problem, because how we spend our time, and I mean, these are kind of like fundamental, how we prioritize what we should do in our days. These are really fundamental life questions. So it's not like there's going to be an easy answer that's going to completely solve that. It's okay that there's some tension with that, but you can certainly improve it through borrowing bits and pieces of other people's strategies and trying out some different things. So certainly, like, there's that classic, but if you're thinking beyond the basic list, there's that classic sort of quadrant framework that's like urgent and important. So you've got urgent and important, urgent but not important, not urgent and important, and not important or urgent, right? So that's a different way that other people like. But having framed your question, you can look up like some different ways to prioritize them, or take something from what I've said and find some new ideas that may not completely work for you, but may spark off an idea for you. Alright, next one is from Larissa. Okay, so Larissa says, my question is, how do you manage stress that stems from overthinking? How can I move forward with my life and be the best version of myself without having the stresses of the past to stop me? Okay, so people that overthink tend to be overthinkers in a lot of different life domains. So people generally aren't just overthinkers in only one domain. So like interpersonal sensitivity is one. So stressing out about how relationships are going, and what you said to someone and what they said to you and all of that jazz. Most people don't just overthink about that. Like they'll also have health anxiety, or they'll overthink money decisions, or all sorts of other things, right? But there might be one area of your life where you don't overthink. Like maybe you don't overthink money decisions or purchase decisions or whatever it is. And so sometimes you can find something, if you find one area of your life that you don't overthink, and you reflect on what's different about my attitude to that area, what's different about my attitude to decisions in that area, what's different in terms of how I process decisions, how I think about decisions after I've made them, what are my strategies for making decisions. Find that one area that you don't overthink and extrapolate out from there some strategies that could help you overthink less in other areas. The strategy I mentioned earlier is a good one. Just designate more decisions as unimportant is really helpful. Again, like the distinction between maybe making a decision is important, but what that decision isn't particularly helpful. Important. Like, should I respond to this email straight away, or should I give myself 2 days to think about it? Or like making a decision is important, but what the decision is probably isn't important. There are lots and lots of questions that I've gotten about overthinking, so we'll definitely come back to that topic, but let's take the second part of the question more specifically. So Larissa says, how can I move forward with my life and be the best version of myself without having the stresses of the past stop me? So if there's things that have happened in the past that still feel, sort of emotionally raw to you, that you still feel kind of hung up on, one thing that you can do is think about if you'd had a mentor that was just what you needed at the time. Like, it might be a mentor that you have now but that wasn't around for those scenarios, or someone that you had in a distant past that's now not been around for new scenarios, or someone that's a mentor with work but these were personal, or whatever it is. But imagine you had a mentor, or it can be like a fictional, imaginary mentor. Imagine you had a mentor who could give you exactly what you need emotionally, so that you were able to process all of what had happened, that had those specific situations that had happened that are still sort of living with you, and you'd be able to process them in a more complete way at the time. Like, what were the messages and things that you needed to hear to do that? And it can be really simple. It can be something as simple as you did the best that you could at the time. Everybody is doing their best, or it could be some sort of really simple message, but kind of role play that out. And if you had someone that would say to you the exact thing that you needed to hear, not so you could have handled it differently, but so that you could have that you could not be still carrying those thoughts and feelings with you, then what would that be? And kind of give that to yourself now. And you can go through that process either like as a written exercise, or you can make a video of yourself talking through that, something like that. And the other thing I would say is our brains really love to make meaning. So if you can think of some sort of post-traumatic growth that you've gotten from those earlier experiences, like how have the things that you've learned or hard-won emotional resilience, how has all of what has happened in your life so far, and these specific incidences that are kind of still playing on your mind, how have they influenced how you handle things now? What sort of emotional depth have they given you? What sort of strategies have you learned? What have you learned about yourself from those kinds of things? Like, try and find some sort of narrative, right, that helps you see how those situations have brought you to where you are today in your life, and given you like the skills and strategies and ways of thinking about the world, the sort of inner resources and things that you have now. So that could definitely help too, because as I said, our brains like there to be meaning out of experiences, and if we haven't, it's a little bit Pollyanna-ish, but if we haven't found, but it is also true. So if your brain hasn't kind of like formed that story yet, it's going to keep going, like looking for what that meaning is and looking for what that story is, and sometimes you can help it along. Alright, so I think that is it for today. Hopefully, as I said, I was re-recording these answers, so hopefully I still sounded relatively fresh giving them. If I didn't, if I sounded a little bit like I'd already given these answers, it's because I did half an hour ago. But yeah, again, I'm really enjoying doing these questions, so if you have questions, feel free to send them in. You can do that by subscribing to my email list, which you'll do at aliceboys.com, and then just reply with your question to any of the emails that you get, and it will come to me. And please subscribe if you want to subscribe, and like if you want to like if you did like it. And I said at the beginning that I thought that by the end of the video my confidence would be kind of back, and it is. So it dipped down again once I saw that my prior video hadn't recorded, and I got a bit sort of exasperated, and then I realised the light was worse, and there was a truck outside, and there was dogs barking and all sorts of things, and then there was a fly again. But now my confidence is, I think, back to maybe, if not quite as good as it was in the fourth video, maybe at least as good as it was in the third video. So it's getting back there, and hopefully it is really useful for people to see me model what it's like in real life to take on something that makes you anxious, because this is what it's like. And these are all the strategies that I write about and talk about are all things that I actually use, and actually all work really well for me. They don't work like a magic wand, but they work, right? They get me to the point that I'm able to do the things that are important and meaningful and enjoyable to me, right? Because this is, as I said, it's like, this is like equal parts enjoyable and anxiety provoking. I think today it was like slightly more anxiety provoking than enjoyable, but enjoyable nevertheless. So thank you very much for watching. Please come back and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye. Have a good day.